Hi friends, my name is Mackenzie, also known as M to the Third, and welcome to my first video of 2026. I'm going to be doing a little retrospective about all of the knitting that I did in 2025. I am a natural yarn dyer. I run M to the Third Yarn Co., where I sell naturally dyed yarn as well as illustrations, all done by me. And other little knitting accoutrement to make your hobby a little more fun. So welcome to my channel if you are new here. I am going to be talking about all of my projects chronologically. In the past, I've really arranged these videos kind of like in different types, like accessories, garments. But as I was sort of putting together my list, I was sort of thinking that the way that it would make sense for me to do this was chronologically. I don't have everything that I knit, but I do have photos of everything. So I have my big pile of stuff right off screen here, so I'll be going through those and then just telling you a little bit about all of the things that I knit. I would be remiss not to mention that I do have memberships on this channel. I do a video once a month just for those channel members, and you can sign up via the link down below. I was like super gung-ho about getting into the new year. I always love the new year. I love post-Christmas, just like having the time to kind of journal and think about what the upcoming year is gonna be like, all of the things that I did previously. But at Christmas, my family was visiting and every single one of us got so sick. So I am just coming out of like a fugue states where I was sick for over 2 weeks and I finally went on antibiotics. Don't recommend. The flu season this year is particularly brutal and my entire family can attest to it. Somehow my partner Kay did not get sick, which good for them. But like, yeah, it was it's a little touch and go there for a minute. So I'm very happy to be feeling well enough to do this, to not be so congested. Yeah. I won't go into details, but that's that. So, last year in January, I went and visited one of my best friends, Maxfield, in San Jose, and we had a really, really lovely little trip, and to commemorate the trip, I made him this little house. I've made a couple of these houses in the past. It is a Susan B. Anderson pattern, and Max and I both have connected over our friendship, which has spanned like 12 years, talking and thinking about home. And Max was like going through a really big transition, which was part of the reason that I like even wanted to go on this trip. And so it was just like kind of the perfect little gift to give him. Here's a picture of it also on his shelf. Like, it was just kind of perfect. So that was what I started off the year knitting, and it was just like kind of a perfect little memento for our friendship. So, and on that trip I brought with me to work on the Ziggy triangle shawl. This is a little shawlette pattern by Layla Raven, and I work here in Portland at Starlight Knitting Society, and this is a pattern that we have multiple samples of in the store. It's written to be knit with Spin Cycle. I used Cumulus, which is a Surrey alpaca silk, as my like solid color, and yeah, I worked on this while I was with Max. I think it's definitely like, we all know that shawlettes are popular, and my knitting definitely reflected their popularity as well. I will say one of the things that I don't love about it is how tight my edge ended up being. Like, it's like an I-cord edge. I think I have this problem, I know other people do too, but I think what I would do if I knit this again would be to add a yarn over before slipping the stitches and then knitting the I-cord on the way back and then dropping that yarn over. this is a technique I have heard of to like prevent the edges of shawls not having the same elasticity as like the body of a shawl, especially when doing like I-cord or anything else. And that's like the one thing about this that I'm not happy with, but it's minor and I definitely still wear it. One of my favorite ways to wear it is actually either, I do it two ways. One, you tie a knot. I think I talked about this in the last year, like count, like year in review. But so, okay. So you tie a knot, but before you cinch the knot to like tighten it all the way, you take the other end and pull it through, and then you kind of cinch it like this. So you get these little like bows. It kind of gives more of like a little cowboy kerchief, and yeah, that's how I like to wear it. I also will take a big chunky ring like the one I'm wearing and pull both of the ends through, and then it kind of gives you like a little extra piece of jewelry. Again, it's kind of given like cowboy, and wear it like that. So that's usually how I wear these shawlettes. I don't totally love them tight around my neck, which I think looks cute on some people, but it makes me feel like I'm choking. So that is my little Ziggy triangle shawl. I used spin cycle dyed in the wool in, I think the color is Holy Toledo, and then again this cumulus in, can't remember the color, but yeah, so that's a really fun little shawlette pattern, a little bit of lace, a little bit of that zigzag. It's just a little more fun than some of the basics. I also started off last year in the middle of a spin and knit along that I was hosting with my friend Claire of the Pearlwise podcast and my friend Madison of the Soulcraft podcast. And so we decided to do a little spin and knit for the Harlow hat by Andrea Mowry. So I kind of invited myself to join in because last year at Rhinebeck 2024, I had seen both of them, and Claire had told me that they were planning on hosting this make-along, and I was like, can I help? So I did a couple of videos. I can post a link to them up here about making the bats for the Harlow hat. My initial plan had been to spin 2 yarns and then do double brioche, but I was running out of time. So I picked actually a yarn that I had gotten at Rhinebeck. It's this like really pretty green. I will definitely say green was a theme for the year. I have a lot of green projects that I ended up making. So I paired it with that fingering weight green and then my hand spun, and I really love how this hat turned out. I'm not like a huge hat wearer, but I do live in Portland. It does get cold enough for hats occasionally, and this kind of like cap fit is my favorite like style of hat for sure. So yeah, I definitely keep this one out. I think it fits and it like stays on my head really nicely. I definitely recommend just like this brioche pattern for a hat if you are looking for one. So I think in February of last year was our friend Bianca's birthday, and she invited us all to go attend like the Chinese New Year festival here in Portland. So we went and saw a bunch of like dragon dancing. There was like a very, very talented kids group of dragon dancers. We were like, yeah, it was very, very cool. And so I thought that it would be fun to make her a red hat that has a snake on it, because last year was the year of the snake. And so that was how that turned out. I found the pattern for the snake. Someone had made a pair of like Chinese New Year mittens for the snake. So I either bought, or it was a free download of that pattern, and then I took it and I duplicate stitched it in yellow onto the hat. So that was really cool. It was a cold day when we met up to do when we went to the festival, and so like Bianca just popped it right on and it was perfect. So that was like a really fun quick gift knit that I could do that was very rewarding and turned out really good. Initially, when I was going through my list of all of my knits, I was like, wow, I didn't really knit that many socks. But now looking, I actually did knit a fair number of socks. And the first ones were actually done in collaboration with you all. I was hosting for like the beginning of last year some D20 live streams. So I have been knitting D20 projects for a while, and what a D20 project is taking a 20-sided die, and I would pick 20 yarns in different colors, and I would roll the die for which color I was knitting, and then roll it a second time for how many rows of that color I was knitting. So it started with a pair of socks, I turned it even into a sweater, and I thought it would be really fun to incorporate a doodle deck into a pair of socks, and that is what I did on live stream. So essentially what happened was I would ask for tips via Ko-Fi, and if you were watching the stream and you donated like $3 to $5, then you got to pick a number 1 through 20, and then I would randomly pick a doodle. So these are the pair of socks that came out of that little experiment. It was super fun to do with, you know, viewers on the live stream. We would have anywhere from like 20 to 50 people on the live stream, less people kind of engaging, but it was a really fun practice to have for a bit. I kind of fell off, like, I definitely sort of have waves of doing live streams, and yeah, it was a nice little moment in time. It gave me the idea to knit these socks, and they're one of my favorite pairs. All of the colors are just random fingering weight sock scraps from my stash, and the main color is from a Pacific Northwest dyer called Jada Woo Designs. I just thought the brown would be like a really good base, and it totally was. I actually ended up using the rest of this skein in a shawl that I will show off later, but that was a really fun project that I got to take on and kind of do in collaboration with my little YouTube crew. So yeah, first pair of socks. As we moved further into 2025, I was starting to feel like I maybe had one too many WIPs. I believe I did a count and I had like somewhere between 9 and 10. And so I decided to sort of have like a little spring cleaning knit along. That's what felt like the right project for me. So I have a series of videos that I will post up here where I just basically was doing this spring cleaning knit along. Some people were part of it. It was really like whatever you wanted it to be. And for me, it was just to get some WIPs off of my needles. And I absolutely accomplished that. So the first thing that I finished was this chevron baby blanket that I knit as a sample for the store. I had the yarn and I just like hadn't knit it, and I was like, girl, get it together, finish your project. So I put that together, really happy with how it turned out. It's been a great sample at the store, which we knew it would be, but it's very rewarding when a sample like just catches people's eye and, you know, inspires them to pick up some yarn for that. So that was the first like spring cleaning FO that I had. The next one was quite a saga. This has been a story that I've told that you heard, I'm sure, unless you're new to the channel. So sorry for being redundant, but I knit my mom this beautiful Pop Spots shawl years and years ago. She lost it while traveling, and so I decided to finally, you know, take one for the team and re-knit it for her for Christmas. And I had basically done all of it, but the lace border over like 900 stitches was just a slog. So I just very purposefully sat down and worked on that. I got to a point where I did memorize the lace pattern, so I was able to just kind of chug along, and that was my next FO of the spring cleaning knit along. And I was so excited because I finished it in time for her to go on an international trip to visit our family in Australia. And then I was like, but I need it to shoot a video to show that I finished it. And I dropped her off at the airport and I totally forgot to give it to her. So unfortunately I had it in my possession while she was on her trip, but it's in her possession now, and you know, she has it. And I also didn't put an air tag in it, which was another thing I was threatening to do. She was like, please don't. And I was like, if you lose it, there's no more. Like, that pattern is done. So yeah, that was the other FO that I had for the spring cleaning knit along. I also had one of these socks and a cuff sitting around, and I finished them. It probably took me like a couple of days. And I love these socks. These are one of the patterns from Summer Lee's Colorwork Cuff Club from the previous year. And like I said, I had finished one sock, loved it, knit a bit of the second one, and then just had to finish it. And I've been so happy with how these are wearing, like how cute they look. Like, they're just a really fun sock. I would like to knit another pair of them, I think, but I just have not yet. So yeah, really love those. Another spring cleaning FO was this sweater for my very handsome partner, Kay. This is the Muscadine sweater, designed by Andrea Gahn and knit in a local to us yarn called Along the Chehalis. This sweater feels very special because my dad was born in Chehalis, so I feel a lot of like connection. I also got it from the yarn store You and I up in Chehalis, Washington. And the owner of the store passed away very suddenly this year, and I had just shown her the finished sweater. So there was a lot of like emotion and tenderness with this, knitting this sweater for my partner, you know, all of those things. So Kay wears it all the time. The yarn is holding up really great. It's really beautiful. And yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out. And again, it was just one of those things where I had knit like the entire body, but just needed to knit the sleeves. So I was really, really happy to be able to finish this and give it to Kay. And I put this little tag on the inside that says Con besos y amor. So I thought it was just a very sweet and tender project. So yeah, we'll see if Kay gets another sweater this year. So it was around this time that I finished up the spring cleaning knit along, and then I was also doing this like May bingo challenge, which I basically just created this bingo card of things that were kind of out of my normal routine. And I did some videos about that as well. I had a blast. This was about the time that I started memberships on my YouTube channel, so there's just like a lot going on. And one of the things that I did was take the Amtrak from LA all the way up to Portland. It was a harrowing journey, but it was fun. And on that trip, I got my very first Labubu. So this is Happiness, he, him. And this was a Labubu that I got at a reseller, not really knowing anything. They were just kind of starting to explode, and I was like, I want one. I saw that they had one. I went and got one, and it was just sort of like my family was bemused by me. I was bemused by it. And I took the train with my little Labubu, and I was like, I have to knit it a sweater. So I knitted a sweater, and then other people asked me how I knit it, and I ended up writing a pattern collection of Labubu patterns. At that point, I only had one Labubu, and then I got a second, and then I got a third, and then I started selling Labubus. And I will say that the summer of 2025 was absolutely dominated by Labubus for me. I ended up releasing 2 pattern collections of Labubu clothes. This is the selection of patterns in the first set, and then this is the set of patterns in the second set. And it was also about this time that Kay and I were like, F it, let's just have a wedding. Like, we've been waiting so long, let's just have a wedding. These two things are kind of related, because truly that wedding was sponsored by Labubu. The success of the patterns was, and still is, absolutely mind-blowing, and did pay for like a good chunk of the wedding. So I'm very grateful for these little these little monsters, for the opportunities that they gave me this year. It's just like so silly and out of control. But you know what? Follow your bliss. I had fun, and I will never forget the summer of Labubu. So, of course, because we decided to have our wedding, we ended up planning it in like just under 3 months. We had it in the backyard of my very good friend Zoe's house, and it just was like a snowball. There was a lot. I truly thought that I could have just like a very chill wedding, and you know what? The day of was amazing. Thank God for my friends. Thank God for my family. Like, it came together. It was so lovely. But getting there was quite the ride, and I just didn't know it was going to be as intense as it was. So I had a lovely wedding, and I wanted, of course, to knit something for it. So I realized, because of such a short time that we decided to like organize and have the wedding, that there was only so much that I would be able to do. So I actually enlisted 4 friends, 2 of my coworkers and 2 of my knit night buddies, to knit Kay and I a pair of socks. So each of them knit 1 sock. I wrote out my sort of standard sock pattern, and my idea was to write "just married" across the 4 socks so we could stand together and take a picture that said "just married." So a seriously huge thank you to Kiana, Gus, Delaney, and Emily for coming through and knitting these socks for us. And then you can kind of see my duplicate stitch on the back. I'm gonna just probably post a photo, because obviously we wear these socks, so it's a little hard to get them all organized. But each sock is like a little bit different, because everyone knits a little bit different. So we got to wear them the next day to brunch with everyone, to have our just married socks. And it was just very sweet, and we still wear them. I also, this color, the yarn is Haley Bailey, but I get compliments every time I wear these socks on the color. And sometimes people are like, what's on the back of them? But it's kind of like, it's meant to be like a little like sneaky nod towards us and our wedding. And yeah, I really loved that I could ask my friends to do that, and it was just like such a gift to have that for our wedding celebration. I honestly thought that I would knit Kay a tie, but I just didn't have time, and that's okay. The other thing that I made was for sort of like our rehearsal dinner, for more or less, which was this cloud bow top. I love the way this turned out. Our wedding colors were like orange, this chartreuse, kind of like orange, like bright orange, darker sort of terracotta, and then purple. So both Kay and I sort of adhered to that, and we asked everyone to dress that way. And this was my outfit that I wore for, yeah, essentially our rehearsal dinner, but more like our welcome kind of party for everyone, you know, gathering in Portland. So love that I was able to make that. I have worn it a bit. It's a funny one because it feels very lightweight, but it's actually pretty warm. But every time I wear it, I get a lot of compliments on it. And then I get to be like, these were my wedding colors. So yeah, that was definitely a special one. And y'all, I was binding off and steaming that thing like less than an hour before we went to the party. So things were cutting it close, okay? Once the wedding was over, we got married on August 30th. It was September, and that meant that it was just 6 weeks until Rhinebeck. So me and my friend Tim host Sibling Energy, which is a podcast on this channel where we are just, it's kind of like a comedy knitting podcast. We just goof around with one another, but somehow we had decided that 2025 we would host the bucket list knit along, which was a challenge for us over the course of the year to knit a challenging project that we'd been putting off or just like hadn't committed to. So my bucket list project is this cardigan called the Berwick cardigan, and it has colorwork, steeking, cabling. It was a unique shape, and I picked piece fleece to knit it out of, which was too thick for the pattern, so I had to do some pattern adjustments. And despite my intention being to work on it all year, I basically knit the entire thing in 6 weeks, and it was quite the endeavor. So this is my Berwick cardigan. It's a coat, like it's heavy, it drapes beautifully, it's very warm. I really love it. I love how it turned out. And it was just quite the experience. I got it done. Tim got his done. He knit the Timberline cardigan by Jared Flood. Here's a little picture of us in our finished projects, and we had a ton of you come and meet us at Rhinebeck, say hi to us at Rhinebeck. It was an incredible trip that we got to take, not just together, but also with Kay and our best friend Emily. So the four of us went on this trip together, and we stayed with Tim's parents. Like, it was quite the experience. And I finished this behemoth of a project. I think what we have discovered through, this knit along is that we don't like, A, being told what to do, and B, like, we're not really gonna slowly work on something. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule, but I really think that both of us are very product oriented. So this like long project building on skills, like we were never at a, we never were thinking, I don't think we were ever thinking that we wouldn't be able to do the projects. It was just about putting in the time. And I will say Tim started really going ham on his project like a couple of weeks before the wedding. And I was like, I want to work on mine, but I couldn't. So there was a lot of very disciplined knitting from me this year, where I would work on things and finish it and just head down working on it. And so if you watched my Vlogmas this year, you'll know that I was just I'm following my whims. And that was very much a direct sort of reaction to being so disciplined all year. So this year, in this 2 weeks where I have been sick, but had a little bit of time to think about what I want to do with my knitting practice this year is I have two sort of words for the year. One is analog, which I don't think I'm alone in. I think a lot of people have been thinking about just engaging with media in an analog way as we like get really sick of paying all these fees for streaming services and get really sick of seeing a lot of AI suggestions and, you know, just AI becoming more entrenched in just everything that we do. So analog, as a knitter, I feel like that's a pretty like obvious and easy one, but I'm really thinking about it in terms of art, in terms of music specifically, and just kind of creating more friction in accessing things. And that is my second word of the year, friction. Some of the ways that I like immediately am, you know, kind of engaging with creating more friction in my life is deleting DoorDash. DoorDash has been a problem for me. I think in part because I was so stressed out and so busy this year. And so I really have been intentional about, not relying on that as a service. But another way that I'm thinking about friction is working on my own designs for 2026, or just in general kind of doing things in knitting that might not work out. Because at this point I'm pretty comfortable in my craft and I want to challenge myself. And I think actually one of the things that sparked that is the fact that this was a bucket list knit. It was a big project, and yet nothing in it scared me or challenged me in the way that I thought it would, I guess. Like, the hardest part I think was picking colors because I had a specific palette and rearranging them, but that wasn't really hard. It just took a little bit of work. So yeah, I'm thinking about like how to challenge myself within my knitting for this year. I don't know if any of you have thought of that. I mean, I've been a knitter for a really, really long time. At this point, it's over half of my life. So there's not a lot that I feel I can't do. So yeah, I've just been thinking about, again, like how to challenge myself with my knitting practice. So friction and analog, just wanted to throw that in there. So one of the little projects that I knit over the summer was this very cute Isla shawl. I know people have been commenting and telling me I'm saying it wrong. This has been a discussion for a while. I say Isla. I think it is maybe Isla, but you say Isla in Spanish, so I don't know. Fight me on it. But again, I wear this similarly to the Ziggy triangle shawl, where I will put it like this with my little ring, or do that same kind of tie situation. I really, really love this kind of like periwinkle moment and the like red-orange color. I just loved them together. So that I really like to wear this during the summer. It feels very, almost like nautical to me. And I get a lot of compliments on it. It was a very easy knit, but very like a statement. I also have a few pairs of socks that I knit for my booth for selling yarn. And I'm going to show you those. So this is the first pair that I brought with me to Black Sheep Gathering, which is a local farm and fiber festival that happens just south of Portland. And this was sort of the first batch of these like variegated, naturally dyed yarns. So I knit this pair. I have this dream, I've talked about it before, of having a bunch of pairs of socks kind of lining my booth. Now, I ended up wearing these, and I think these are going to be like my show socks. So when I do a show, I can like put these on and be like, and here are my socks. So I've worn them, but they're holding up well. It's just a superwash merino nylon. It's a 2-ply. It's like my favorite sock base. And I've started making these variegated yarns using leftover dyes from like my sort of standard palette. Some of the colors end up just like leaving leftovers in the dye bath. So this has been a very fun way to create that variegated sock yarn. A lot of the yarns are like one of a kind because of that, which some people don't like, but I think, you know, for a sock yarn, it's perfect. You just pick one up and knit something with it. So yes, that is the first pair of socks in Cascada, which is the name of the yarn. And then this pair actually incorporates some hand spun as well. So I make bats and sell those. And so I used one of my bats, spun singles, plied it, and then knit my Raya socks with the hand spun in addition to a couple colors of yarn. So really happy with how those came out. Took me a while to knit, but they were a really good project to work on while vending. So happy with those. I guess this isn't technically an FO because I only have one, but this was another sock that I knit in my yarn, and I have the rest of it sitting on a shelf over there waiting to knit the second one. So these will be part of my booth sock collection. So now we're getting to the end of the year. So one of the things that I was working on, it's maybe my longest standing WIP ever, which is the Tessellated vest. And those of you who have been around know that when I finished this, I was like, I don't think I like it. I just was like so over the stitch pattern. Any of you who have made any of the Tessellated designs know that like you're basically, because you're doing so much slip stitches, I feel like 3 rows back and forth equaled 1 row. So it's kind of a slog. I brought that with me on the train when I was coming from Amtrak up to Portland, and I think that was another reason I didn't really want to work on it afterwards, because like I said, that was quite the train ride. There was like a medical event that happened. It was kind of traumatic, so I was very like needing space from anything to do with the trip. But I picked it up after the wedding, finished it, and I do like it. Don't worry. I used Tumalo fiber, my friend in Ben, Tatiana, who dyes yarn. I had this like pink variegated from a year at camp that she had been vending. I used again the Cumulus, which is a Surrey alpaca, and then some hand spun that I had made from some fiber that my friend Heather dyed. So very like Oregon maker tessellated vest, which is very fun, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'm definitely into vests right now. Like, I feel like I finished a bunch of vests. I mean, not like here right now, but like I think I have like 4 vests, and I really do like them because I do tend to run warm, and it's nice to have my arms out to not get so warm. And then we're at like the last half of the year. So after the wedding, after Rhinebeck, after Sacred Sheep weekend, which was at like mid-November, and then Thanksgiving, I was just like, what do I do with myself? So here are some projects that were me following my whims for the last like quarter of the year. The first one is called the Jose hood. So this is a hood cowl combo that kind of works like this. Then you bring it to the front and tie a little bow. And it's a hood but you can put it back and then just have this big cowl. I honestly am a big fan of like neck brace cowls. So I honestly, because it only just got cold here and I have been so sick, I haven't really been going out. My idea for wearing this is really on walks with the dog, either when it's raining or when it's just cold and kind of breezy, and I haven't really gotten the opportunity to do that. So yeah, I haven't really worn this much, but I really love the color. Like I said, it's my year of green. And two of my coworkers at Starlight also made it, so yeah, we've been a big fan of that pattern, which is called My Jose Hood, and I'm excited to like wear it out and about when I get the opportunity. On Thanksgiving weekend, Andrea Mowry hosts a sock knit along, and my coworker Emily was like, do you want to do this? I'm gonna do it. And I was like, yeah, I do want to do that. So I vlogged the weekend, which was kind of like the preface, the intro to Vlogmas, and I knit a pair of ooey gooey socks. I'm really happy with how these turned out. I've been wearing them quite a bit. They don't look so pristine anymore, but that is a sign of a good sock in my opinion. I used Spin Cycle dyed in the wool, as well as my sock non-superwash naturally dyed merino nylon, not merino, wool nylon sock base, Corriedale and BFL mixed with nylon non-superwash sock base that I do not have. I haven't been able to get from the mill, but is something that I would like to bring back maybe this year. We'll see. So very happy with these, have been wearing them a lot, getting a lot of compliments on them. And then during Vlogmas, I was like, I just need a project. I need a quick little thing to work on. And so I cast on and made this little terrace beanie, which is very cute, and it's all out of my yarn Sueño. I have been wearing this one. I have like kind of like a pink jacket, and I've just been leaving this in the pocket. So take the dog out. If it's cold, pop the hat on. Easy peasy. And then my last FO of 2025 are my Advent socks from Woolens and Nosh. So started these at the toe. Every day I knit a stripe, and then I cast them off on Christmas Day while we were opening presents to gift myself some socks. So I'm so happy with how these turned out. I'm always happy with how they turned out. I've done these for 4 years now. We'll see if I go with maybe a different self-striping sock company or continue with Woolens and Nosh. But I really love this tradition. I think it's a really nice way to kind of like show the days on Vlogmas that is not adding like 500 mini skeins to my stash. So I really love doing the Advent socks, and I know a lot of you are also interested in them for next year, but yeah, we'll see what we're doing in December of 2026. A lot happened this year. It was kind of a bonkers 2025, but it's been really fun to spend time reflecting on that, thinking about all the things I was able to do knitting wise and otherwise this year. And I really think 2026 is off to a strong start despite my illness. So yeah, it's so good to see you. Thank you for joining me again in 2026. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon. And yeah, until then, bye.